culture, combat sports,
self-improvement.
Okay.
Culture, combat sports, self-improvement.
All right. This is the Tip Network with Scotty and
I'm Grover,
where we talk about the culture, combat sports, and self-improvement. And so we got a hot one today.
Number one with a bullet.
We have to celebrate the success of the Godfather himself.
Well, I don't know if I'm calling the man my Godfather, but I do want to give a toast and an understanding and a shout out to Kevin Samuels for getting his millionth subscriber on YouTube. And I think that it's a momentous occasion for the Manosphere.
Oh, yeah.
So first things first. Avion.
Toast.
This is at Avion Tequila. Have a
To
toast.
you, Mr. Kevin Samuels.
And to all the people, don't hate, congratulate. And if you are going to hate, wash it down.
Some haterade.
That's
good. That's
nice.
good.
It's actually smooth. So I think that it's appropriate, first of all, to say, follow me at I am Gorilla1 on the gram and my man right here.
I'll link it down below and on the graphic right here. But I got to ask you, when was the time that you were first introduced to Kevin Samuels, and what was about Kevin Samuels that made you say, this man is speaking the truth?
I think it was like with everybody else, the average at best video, when it was really, sensationalist and clickbaity. And he said, you're built like Emmitt Smith to this female. And it was funny to me, but then I realized, okay, I'm gonna listen to the guy and I'm gonna see if it's all just gonna be him insulting people, or is he gonna have any substance? Because if you're just insulting people, you're only gonna last so long. I mean, even if you think about it, even comedy shows where you just insult people or you're just based off of that can only last so long. You have to have substance, you have to have delivery, you have to speak some type of truth. And so I think probably about in the middle of the pandemic, I started hearing certain things and I started watching it. And then I just went back and watched his old catalog. And what I really realized is that Kevin Samuels spent most of his time talking to men.
Yeah.
And he just recently started talking to women.
His channel was about men's fashion advice, as well as self-improvement for men.
Yeah.
So he had a body of work that precedes that whole your average at best a couple of years beforehand.
Right. And
or
also,
even more than that, actually.
Yeah. And also, like, I think that Kevin Samuel's channel at first was like, I call it like the road to high value, where he was like, look, these are some of the things, like, he's an image consultant. So he says, hey, smell good, look good, and be your best, put your best foot forward. And a lot of things, quite honestly, that I think is missing from the culture. I even say like the Black community. Like I remember doing and organizing an interview workshop when I was a kid. Actually I was like a young adult, but a kid to me now. And teaching people like how to get ready to try to get a job and go to a job interview. And I would get a lot of pushback that he would get pushback from. Like I had one cat and I was dealing with, usually kids who come from the inner city or like lower income, and they'd be like, well, why do I have to wear these hard bottom shoes to an interview? They're not comfortable. And I remember talking to a guy and he like trying to explain to him, like, look, you have to put your best foot forward because you're asking this person to invest in you. And why would I come and say, invest in me as a person that I can be an asset to your job and take this risk so I can be an asset to your company if I don't even care about like putting on clean clothes or tucking in my shirt. And so like I seen he had a lot of videos like that. And I really thought that it was appropriate, his material. And as his material ramped up, he started talking more to women, which is like popular right now, even though he just spent the whole week talking to men, which was fire.
Yeah, he called it the men's week.
Yeah, and he was on men's neck.
Well, see, coming from the content creator side and thinking of it like a business and thinking about strategy, you're going to go with the content that works the best for you. And it seems like, to me, this is the thing that was eye-opening for me, is that, okay, he's going after women. Hold on.
Yeah.
He's going after women, but that's getting the most clicks. Now it's to say, is it a misogynistic society, a culture on YouTube? No, if you think about this real quick, is that women drive the economy. Women drive the culture. And for the longest time, men can't really speak their mind on what they feel, right? And what they think. especially with the dominance of the feminine energy, which is, in a sense, cloaked with masculine energy. So it's actually showing, it's speaking to the subconscious level for all men, I believe, where we can't say certain things without feeling like we're under the threat of getting canceled.
Yeah, and one of the things about having a YouTube channel is if it gets popular enough, as long as you don't go off the deep end, you're not going to get canceled.
Yeah.
But and you know how I feel about cancel culture. I've always said that cancel culture needs to stop. And like, even if people are saying things that is offensive, and I mean, I even believe that the Ku Klux Klan has a right to march down the street because they wouldn't march down certain neighborhoods anyway because they get the hell beat out of them. But you still have a right to do it. And I think that even if some of the things that he says is disagreeable, he has a right to do it. I don't agree with everything the man says, but some of the things he says, especially like bringing to the table of what a man wants, is very important. And I think that the deepest dive that you can take into Kevin Samuels' content is that people have such overinflated self-value and high self-esteem. And it showed from men and women, because when Men's Week, it really showed it for the men too and the women.
Yeah, we're even saying this for the men and the women. So it's both.
It's that it's almost like it's good that someone bring you down a notch. Because look, I'm gonna tell you folks, everybody wants to be a high value man. Now, you know, it's the hottest thing. I'm a high value man. I'm gonna make $150,000 a year, and I'm going to go on vacation, and my woman's going to stay home. Well, guess what? That's 10% at best of the population of the United States, and half of your asses ain't going to make that.
And that's not even the full definition of being a high value man.
Not even
there's
close.
even more to the high value man standard, which is you need to be in the public eye.
And
you need to have a strong network.
And a network that recognizes you as a high value man. And so you can't be the chump in your network. And this is what everybody knows. There's always that one guy in your network that's hanging out, and you're like, well, we keep him around because he does this or that. But if he's not here today, we don't mind. You have to be recognized as valuable in that network as everybody with these high value individuals. And what I think that the thing that I don't like about the content is that going and just focusing on just high value men. And I know why he's doing it, because women who are the consumers, this is what they're saying they want. They're describing that they want a high value man. Now, I think, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound harsh, half of the women saying that have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And what they're saying is that, oh, F-bomb, can't do it again or get demonetized. We're not monetized anyway. It's okay. But like, if you don't understand what you're asking for, because if a woman came and she said, okay, and you understand that we live in a competition-based society, and she's like, all right, I'm going to compete with this woman for this man, with these women for this man. And this man, I want to compete with 1% of the, I want a man who makes $500,000 a year. Well, that's the top 1%.
And that's got to be over 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're always over 6 feet tall. And, by the way, they always have to be dynamite in bed.
Yeah.
They have to give you 17 orgasms a night. You have to. So not only are you going to be just totally have your eyelids flipped backwards sexually, but he has to provide. You don't want to work and pay significant bills. You want to stay home, raise the children, and you think because you cook and clean and keep the house clean that's it. Well,
there's a lot of women that appeared on that show that don't even do that.
Oh yeah, there's tons of women that you hear and they talk about, and they're like, well, I can bring calm to them. It's like, look, you will bring chaos to them. If I come home and the house is not clean after working a 17-hour day, and I have to raise a finger dead exhausted, you're bringing chaos to my situation. As a matter of fact, and this is a really big secret, because take it from a guy who works 7 days a week and from a guy who works multiple hours a day, half of the time you come home, you don't feel like you've been having sex. You just want a shower, food, drink, sleep, because you got to do it again the next day.
Peace in your life.
You want peace. And if anyone's bringing any type of chaos, you don't want that. So the thing is, focusing on that group as Mr. Samuels does, and I know why he's doing it. What I don't like about his content is that you have so many people now, and especially like every man who talk to, and they're like, well, I'm a doctor, so I'm on my way to being a high value man. Oh, I'm in school to be an engineer. I'm going to be a high value man. No, what you are is you're on your way to being a high earner. But are you going to be recognized by your peers? Are you going to be that top 1%? You may be the top 20% of earners or top 1% of earners, but you're not going to be that top 1% of high value individual.
And you know, the one thing I do have to add though, are you able to control your emotions, how you will react when your emotions are tied up into with a woman that may not be good for you?
Yeah, because the number one indicator for a man for poverty is divorce. I'll say it again. The number one indicator of a man in poverty is divorce. And this is what I mean. If you are a man who makes, let's say you're a city manager, right? And I do know this is a live case of a city manager in the Bay Area that I know. And your retirement after you're done is, man, you're going to retire. You're going to make a couple of $100,000 a year. And your wife decides to divorce you. Maybe you slipped up. Maybe you got caught slipping.
Maybe you still got kids.
Yeah. But maybe she just decided she doesn't like you anymore because it's a game and you didn't play it right. And guess what happens? When she gets a divorce, she gets $100,000 of that pension a year. This is real and this is happening. That man is now $100,000. Well, you can make it off $100,000. Yeah. But now that's $100,000 that she's going to get your pension. She's going to get that house that you may still be paying for. You have to pay her legal fees because you have more money than her. And you got kids to put through college.
And if you haven't done the self-developmental work and you're seeing someone else spending your money, the hard-earned money that you put your time, energy, and effort into,
you may be going to the penitentiary. And so that's one of the things that, you know, it's very difficult. So what I would like and what I'm going to concentrate on with our content is making sure that people have the mental tools and the developmental tools to understand that, hey, this is such a high risk that if you're going to make that marriage jump, it better be with the right person. You better have an understanding of what's going on. You better have your paperwork tight. You better have that, that prenuptial. And you know what? If you're going to divorce her, you got to do like Tom Cruise did and divorce her 5 days before your 10-year period so you don't pay alimony. It's tough, but it's true.
So this is what we're going to do.
All right.
This is going to be an extra long episode. Back to the throwback.
All right.
Because I'm going to have to ask more questions to get your understanding, to get your opinion on exactly the content of Kevin Samuel and his perspective on men and women.
Well, we're going to need more tequila. Yeah, we're going to need more tequila if we got to do all that.
Definitely will. So, number one.
Yeah.
Do you want to get tequila first?
Let's go with number one first.
Okay, number one.
Right.
Number one, on how he views women and the classical gender role that he says that he gives the advice to women to take, especially if they want a high value man.
Right.
Well, a high value man makes over $100K relative to where he lives, has a high net worth. That is a somebody in the community. And this is less than 10% because a lot of us are average.
Yeah, average at best.
There's only 10% or less that are actually high value. Now, what are your thoughts on the advice that he gives women about how to attract and keep a high value man, where the man can exercise his options?
So first of all, what Kevin Samuel says is he breaks it down really painfully that the average woman, 90% of you aren't going to qualify for the top 10%.
Say that one more time.
90% of you aren't going to qualify.
90% of what?
Are not
women?
90% of women are not going to qualify for the top 10%. Because what you have to understand is what these men actually want from the marketplace. You see, we're not women, so we're not leading with emotion. When men are looking for this, they're saying, what do they want from the marketplace? In the sexual marketplace, what they want is, in general, somebody who's fit, right? And that's the first thing that a high value guys are going to say. And guess what? Even if he is 72 years old, flabby as hell, he wants somebody fit because he's making the calls. He's the guy with the moolah. So that's number one. Number two, he wants somebody who does not have children. That eliminates a lot of people, right? He doesn't want to raise somebody else's legacy. He wants to raise his legacy. And understand now, especially with modern medication and men being fertile for their entire life, there's men 72 years old. I mean, the cat from The Odd Couple had a kid when he was 60 something. So there's men who's doing that, right? And then another thing, he wants feminine, and he wants a woman in a traditional role. Well, he's not interested in how much money you make.
Why is that?
because he makes the money.
Oh.
And so like,
wait, so let me ask you, do men really care how much women make?
After a certain threshold, and it's not necessary, no. And this is what I mean. All right, full disclosure, I live in the Bay Area, so making $100 and something thousand doesn't mean nothing, right? Mm-hmm. But all my income wrapped up is over $100 something thousand. Okay, so now let's say I meet somebody and I'm doing okay. I don't need their income. Let's say I live someplace where it's just not important to me what they make. More important to me is that my house is serene. My kids are raised. My kids aren't around strangers. My kids are well educated. And I can just have a high overview of what my kids do, meaning that, I may show up to school plays and stuff, but like all of the parent teacher conference, that's going to have to be you. I'll show up if it's necessary. But I just need you to tell me what's going on. And then I want to go read to my kids at night, put them to bed, eat a little something, drink a little something, go to sleep because I got to be at it again. Right. What they want is traditional roles. And so that's what I would need. So in high value individual, they're already there. They're at this place that most men are trying to get to. That's what they want. They're looking for somebody in a traditional role. And that's what they really want. They don't want a woman who, I know that we've been sold the dream of the Cosby Show where he's a doctor and she's a lawyer. And I don't know how a doctor and a lawyer being successful had all of that fucking time they had. Mm-hmm. But they have all of this time to raise their kids and they're this power couple and their parents come hang out. No, he doesn't want that because most likely at the age that you're really earning that money, your parents are almost gone. Your parents are dead. I mean, and, your wife, you want a trophy wife who's going to look great, who's going to help with the kids, but she's not expected to work.
And let me interject. This is for the high value men.
Exactly.
Less than 10%.
Less than 10%.
Anecdotally, maybe there's 1 out of 100, but it's still
less than. And honestly, it's about realistically like 6%. Because you have to understand that a lot of those men are not even on the market for women. Because let's just say this. 30% of men in the world, up to 30%, maybe 20 to 30% are not interested in women sexually. So they're off the market too. You're not going to get those, lady. Yep. So they have the choice. They have to pick up the litter. And this is what Kevin Samuels is saying. And what his content really says is that if these women have to pick of the litter, these men, have to pick of the litter, and you're going for that level, you might want to be satisfied if you're not at that level, if you're not 23, between 19 and 25 years old, a fitness model body, ready to have children and give it all away. And,
with a low body count too.
Low. And you ain't got an OnlyFans. Your Instagram ain't got you twerking. Mm-hmm. You ain't Miss Twerkalator.
Probably getting rid of your social media too, right?
Yeah.
So,
I know. Well, the thing is also that you have to understand that, like his business may require that he monitors your social media and edits and censors your social media because if he's seen through you as dangerous to the company, he's going to be let go and his value will go away. And he's not going to let that happen. If he owns the company, if he's not in a management class, but he's in an executive class, meaning that he's an owner of the company, he may just let you go because you can't, because your Instagram, you better scrub that. And you can't scrub everything off the internet. So these women are already disqualified in a lot of ways. And what Kevin Samuels is saying is that you're disqualified. Mm-hmm. And then, when he says, hey, they want like at 5'5", you should weigh 115 to 125 pounds. And then women, especially sisters, they come and say, well, that's the European standard of beauty. And he's like, look, I'm just telling you what the men said they wanted. Mm-hmm. There's surveys about this. This is what they said they wanted. And so, like, it's just reality. And the problem is, men are enjoying it because women are not used to having reality pushed in their face because Cosmopolitan, The Cosby Show, Oprah Winfrey, and everybody else told them you can have it all. Men, we understand we can't have it all.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We know, like, look, I understand that I can't drive the Jaguar, drive the nice car, and
can't get any girl that we want.
And be 21 years old because at 21, I could get a lot more women than I could get now, but guess what? I ain't had no fucking money.
Mm.
You know, that's just the truth. It took me a long time to learn how to make it, to learn how to keep it. I mean, you've seen me through some of my management journey, and it took a long time for me to understand what I was doing. It took a while. And now when it's like life plays cruel jokes. I'm an older gentleman now. You know, I got manners. I know how to act. It took me a long time to learn that. And I'm still not driving around in a Bentley.
Yeah.
But just saying, you know, even when I was younger and I had a nicer car than I do now, I was stretching it and it was uncomfortable.
So this goes right into the segue is how the reality check for many men is that most of us are just average, or we're on a high earner road or path to becoming a high earner.
Well, let's just break down percentages, right?
Okay.
And so let's just say up to 10% will be considered high value, right? Now, let's go to the lower spectrum. 55% is going to make $45,000 or less in the United States. So what you have, and if you want to say high earners is 100,000 and up, and 55% and down is the average. What the average man is gonna wind up doing if he does good for himself is either $60,000 to $100,000. The average guy, if you're a high earner, you know, when we talk about high earners, we're talking about truck drivers who are making $75,000, $80,000 a year. We're talking about construction workers. We're talking about plumbers. You know, by the way, the backbone of this country, all of these things we're talking about, firemen, policemen, public servants, you know, working for Social Security, DMV, you know, just by the way, everybody hates that shit in the world. It's,
and we shouldn't be emotionally attached to labels, number one.
Right.
Like you should be comfortable in what you're bringing to the table and how you conduct yourself and going after your goals. Like to me, I'm fine with the label. I'm average. But I do have ambitions to becoming a high value. But I'm fine having the reality check that I'm average right now. It's okay. But it is what it is.
But here's the thing. These people that I just called and named off, they build the foundation of this country. The firemen, all of these folks, these are people who make great jobs, have pensions, who do their job, raise a family. A quote from A Bronx Tale is that a tough guy isn't the gangster who can pull a trigger. How strong do you have to be to pull a trigger? You want to see strength? How about that bus driver who goes and does the job every day that he fucking hates? So that's 2 F-bombs, one more and we're done. That he effing hates to make sure that his family's straight.
So you saying they're builders, right? Blue collar workers, the average, they laid down the bricks for the foundation of the structure. They are the ones to maintain the stability of our security.
Yes.
So I think it's actually proud to be average, but you can still become a high earner by using things like your financial education. There's many ways to still become a high earner.
Well, what I want to do is I want to just take a step back. Those people are high earners, but not high value. The average person in this country, we just take it back to our Andrew Yang understanding, works retail or administrative work. And those are the folks making up to $55,000 a year.
Yeah.
These blue collar people are the people in the middle who are middle class, who are upwardly mobile, who are making up to $100,000 a year. And then you get into the management class where you make $100,000 or something about that equivalent. You know, I mean, because you can be in a management class, in a real management class in Mississippi, making $65,000 a year, which is the equivalent to making $100,000 a year in California, right? So it's all relative to where you live. And, you know, they're the ones who are on their way to being a high earner, you know, or Henry's high earner, not rich yet. It's when you're like 100,000 or 80, 70, 80, 90, 100,000. And those are the people who can invest because you start having headroom because after $75,000 a year, you're not really worried about your bills. Your money's coming in enough to take care of your bills. And then you say, okay, now I can start moving money around. Let me get into this crypto. Let me get into these stocks. Let me get into these mutual funds. You know, what are these bonds about? Like now you have the headspace to do it because you're not worried about putting your credit card in the gas tank, meaning at the gas station and saying you're denied because you ain't got no money.
Well, I got to tell you, if you're making under 75K and you don't have kids, actually you're making under 50K and you don't have kids, trust me, you can still do your financial stuff.
No, yeah.
Let's say that.
But, you know, we're coming from place where you can, but you have rent, bills, and at a certain point in your life, you may have kids. But back to like Kevin Samuels talks a lot about giving those Henrys a lot of admiration and saying that these are the people who built the country, and he respects them, and he doesn't, and a lot of his direct aggression towards women.
He does it to the guys too.
Yeah, but a lot of it towards women that I seen was because he'd be like, so you're 38 years old and you have to have a high value man. Why high value? And they said, because I deserve that. Well, why do you deserve? You don't deserve anything. You get what you get in this world. Mm-hmm. You don't deserve anything.
You get what you work for.
Yeah. Well,
because to become feminine, fit, beautiful, inspirational, that requires work.
But you can work for it, and you can have the best body and still lose out to someone else who's a year younger than you, and it ain't nothing that you can do. It's like it's not a seller's market. It's a buyer's market when it comes to that. Okay, just using it. So what he's talking to a lot of women about is like, first thing that I like about Kevin Samuels, because I talked about what I didn't like about him. One thing that I like about his content is that he does a lot talking to women, and some black women especially, saying, hey, so what happened with your ex? You had 2 kids with him, and she says, hey, it didn't work out, or I was in the streets, or I wanted to do this. He says, well, have you apologized to him? You have a good relationship with him? Because, ma'am, you're past the danger zone. You're 39 years old. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not going to get what you want. You might want to go back and build a life with the guy who already gave you 2 kids, who's paying child support, who's supporting you in those 2 kids, right? And you might want to put your house back together. And he wants to get families, particularly black families, back together. And I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. As I looked at it, and I was like, that's one of the things that I really like. He's about marriage. He's a lot different than a lot of red pill folks out there.
Yeah.
Where I don't even want to say he's red pill. I want to say that he's masculine, and I want to say that he believes in traditional roles, and he's about marriage. And he's saying that, one of the biggest things that stuck with me is he said, you know what? Your grandmother knew enough to get married young, have a baby, stick with the guy, and raise a family. Mm-hmm. And your grandfather knew enough to work his ass off. He worked himself to death to put a house a house and a roof over their heads, and he did his job. That was his job.
So one thing I really want to say is that when he actually talks about the sociological issues pertaining to the African-American experience, he does go into about how important it is to have a nuclear family, and a lot of the issues that came about. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm repeating from what I heard from him, is because of not having the traditional family structures.
Let me tell you something. The outcomes are better with a traditional family.
Yeah. For the SEO. So
like I was saying back from the break, and you won't even know, but even they're just going to be like, where did the tequila come from? But like
the single family thing.
Yeah. Even if you made it from a single family, and it's like, look, I came from a single mom and this, that. Look, I came from a single mom, but my dad was active in my life, and I had examples of what a man was. Thank God for that person. Grover Cleveland Reese Sr. He didn't use Cleveland. I did. That's why I call myself the second. He was a real man. He had problems. Like all men do. He was, went through it. But I'm going to tell you something. He gave me an example of 3 things: get up and go to work every day, take responsibility for your family, and be strong in the face of bullshit. Mm-hmm. That's what my dad taught me. And that's important. He gave me a lot of masculine energy. And that's why I'm not walking around here, I ain't never been punked by nothing because of that. Right now.
I just want to jump in real quick is that, so there's not a lot known about the Asian experience, especially the Southeast Asian experience. Just because we're Asians doesn't mean we've always had a great, stable home life. I'll say from my personal experience, my mother was addicted to gambling, basically. And my father was, during the time, he was in Desert Storm over in Iraq. And at that time, he was also having issues with my mother.
Right.
So he was actually out of the picture. So for me, I was actually the only male, the single, grew up without a father for the first 7 years to 10 years. I mean, I kind of saw him here and there, but there was a lot of issues between them where it was a very unstable environment. And then when I reflect back on it, there was a lot of things that I realized, oh my God, the instability caused some issues for myself later on.
Absolutely. And you had to fix a lot of shit.
And I'm still in the process of fixing stuff.
Right.
And so that's why I got to say is the whole family structure is super important. The fact that he addresses it is, it makes me really happy, honestly.
And I have to say this, your outcomes are better within a family, financially and mentally. Those are just, I'm not saying it's necessary. I'm not saying that you can't. I mean, Barack Obama came from a single mom. So I'm not saying you can't be successful when I'm saying that these are outliers and we have to play generalities. And it's very important. And thanks for sharing that, Scott. I mean, because, Scott doesn't open up a lot about life. Scott getting loose here. Scott came back.
It's all that tequila.
Yeah, well, that tequila getting loose. If we start twerking, this shit is going to be over. All right. Does the S-bomb count? F, I said shit.
Once you get past a minute or 2 minutes, then you're fine on the algorithm.
All right, cool.
As long as you're not like just throwing it randomly.
Yeah.
So we went through the whole high earner. We talked about the sociological. So now.
Oh, last thing that I do like about him, because I want to go there before you ask your question. I like that he says that therapy is necessary. Because not a lot of Black people get therapy. I've had therapy before. Therapy is necessary, both sides of the spectrum, because there's trauma that we have not addressed. And I don't know how it is for other folks, but speaking from my experience, it helped me greatly. A year of therapy helped me greatly. I graduated after a year. Very happy about it. Next question, sir.
All right. So now going to the high value thing is a lot of our egos are in the way to becoming high value. And some of us, we may not become high value, and that's okay. So now for the women, they want to attract a high value man, but they will not be able to attract a high value man because of certain things. And one should be fine with that. But now for the guys to become high value, you can be a high earner, but you might not necessarily be high value.
Absolutely.
So at this point, what are your thoughts on his definition on how to become a high value man and be perceived as a high value man, where you can exercise your options because now you have the ability to do so?
Well, I think that you can exercise your options depending on A, how bold you are, and B, how much money you have.
Exercise options is messing around with other girls.
Right. Yeah. I think it's how bold you are, how much money you have, and also your will too. So I'm going to say, as a younger man, I exercise the shit out of my options. I know you know this. Right. But as an older man, when I actually have probably a lot of options open to me, I don't want to. I just don't want to, because honestly, that can bring an amount of chaos into your life.
Yeah, that's definitely right.
I don't like chaos. You've seen, we were traveling and there was chaos.
I wish I recorded that.
Oh gosh, there was chaos. I don't like that. Right?
We almost got jumped. Or actually, Grover almost got jumped. Yeah. He called me when I was doing off into the distance, recording myself, and I hear, Scott, come up here. And this is in Mongolia, too. So it's not exactly friendly territory, especially if you get in a bad spot like that.
Well, by the way, I want to say, and I've said this to all my Mongolian friends, some of the highest hospitality I've ever had in my life.
Mongolia.
But Mongolians do not like you getting in Mongolians' business.
And that's what it was. And the thing is, you weren't even, but I was away from Mongolian business.
And they were trying to push, somebody was pulling me into Mongolian business. I was like, Scott, come up here because there's a problem and there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
And so that's the way it is, right? So I could say that, like, understanding and that was like the last straw for me, by the way, to be involved in any type of chaos. I don't like chaos. I don't like drama and chaos. And so to me, my option that I exercised was to be with one lady who's fits the traditional values I like, hardworking, and so am I, but we still maintain a traditional relationship. And that's what I like, right? You do your thing, I'm going to do my thing.
There's still respect given.
100%.
And respect also to the roles and responsibilities on your gender. Because we are built differently. We think differently. We process differently.
And that's it. And I have to understand, hey, there's going to be some emotional stuff that I deal with. And she has to understand that I'm a man. And if I put my foot down, this is what I expect. And it's just that simple. So what was the question again? That tequila's good.
So now with the whole high value man, what are your advice to people? Like, is Kevin Samuel correct on the definition of becoming a high value man and what a high value man is?
Well, he's correct because he's correct, but the definition may vary slightly just through time, right? Because what would you say? Everybody wants to point at popular high value men like entertainers, but let's say who's a high value man?
And
The CEO of Hewlett Packard back in the day, right? And look how he dressed and look how he handled himself. He wore a suit every day. Now let's say who's a high value man right now? Well, would Mark Zuckerberg be a high value man right now? Well, by income he is. By network, yes, he's only networking. I mean, he has Jay-Z, he has Barack Obama in his network. They all recognize what he does, right? He walks, I'm sure he doesn't wear cologne or dresses nice, and he walks around with a hoodie. Mm-hmm. So the definition is going to drift, according to your network that you're with, right? So if your network, if I have a network of people who all do martial arts, play music, and do podcasts, and I'm looked at as a peer, and we're all making a certain amount of money in that peer group of that network that helps me achieve things, looks at me as a value to it, then I could be a high value man, right? Mm-hmm. If I meet that threshold. But I think that it's accurate, but I think it's almost unnecessary, because I think that it was only necessary to put that out towards women so they understand what they're asking for, because what they're asking for is so ridiculous in most cases. Mm-hmm. In most cases, it's just ridiculous for a 45-year-old woman with 3 kids and 100 pounds overweight to say that she deserves a high value man. Mm. First of all, take your entitled ass somewhere. You don't deserve anything. You get what you can obtain. Mm-hmm. And that's just the truth. And what he points out is that, like, especially with relationships, the high value men, they want a 20-something-year-old, somebody who can have their children, because now that they've spent their whole life making money, they've missed all the party years, and now they just want to impregnate somebody and have a legacy. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think people don't understand, that, like, if you're 45 years old, he's not going to have a legacy with you. Mm-hmm. You're past the age of, and he says frying your eggs and stuff like that and freezing your eggs, but you're past the age of, like, really safely producing children. So
it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I would add to that would be, like, if you think about the science and the advances in medical technologies, yeah, maybe one day women can have birth later on in their age and all that. We're barring that fact. We're dealing with the reality that as it is now, mm-hmm. and for the next 30 years, it's going to be how evolution has created us as humans, mm-hmm. where women have a certain time period to have healthy children.
Yeah.
And men are able to procreate until basically they go into the ground, which is what it is.
Well, and I just want to close out with saying that's right. One thing that I don't think people understand is that, like, this is true. Women are born with value because they give birth, they bring life. Men have to earn value. Mm-hmm. And I am a feminist when I say I'm a male feminist, right? But not in this weird way that people say. I believe that women have the right for choice, but your right to choice does not exclude the consequences of that choice. Mm-hmm. Meaning that if you want that career, if you want to, I just hear outlandish shit from women that I talk to that, like, okay, I want to go to college and I want to have a career and I want to work on my career for about 5 years. Then I want to have 5 kids. And then after those kids are grown, I want to go back into my career. Mm-hmm. What the fuck are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, so you want to have everything in life. You want to have both roles in life. You want to have a career until it's time that you decide it's time to be traditional, because you decide when you have children. Women decide when you can have children because of birth control and because of abortion. Women are in control of that. And then when you have children, you want to automatically just be traditional until, again, you decide that you want to go into the workplace and not be traditional. It doesn't work like that. What feminism really says is that you have the choice to live your life like men were living their life then, having a career, or live your life like women was. There was nothing in it that said that you had a chance to do it all. And you know what? Saying that you can have it all, nowhere in this world do you have it all. Like, newsflash, Kanye West, billionaire, can't have it all. Mm-hmm. That's why he's having a divorce. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates, he, billionaire, multi-billionaire, had a girlfriend, getting a divorce. I mean, Bezos, the richest man in the world, getting a divorce. You don't have it all. I've just named people who you would think have everything in the world. Only thing that these motherfuckers don't have, barring Kanye, because I think Kanye was a pretty good looking man when he was younger, was good looks. Mm. Brad Pitt, divorced, rich. adopted 72,000 children from all over the world with Angelina Jolie. Had the hottest chick. He's divorced. He's sitting there thinking, where the fuck did I go wrong? I had a wife and everything. You don't get it all in this world. And the biggest problem of modern women today is that you think you can have it all. And that's the problem. And when someone tells you, hey, you got to make a choice, you get mad at them. Mm-hmm. You get mad at
offended,
them,
actually,
and you call them
outraged,
and you call them a misogynistic, or you want to fight. Well, and then when you want to fight a man, the average man says, "Hey, I'm not going to fight you." Then you hit him, and like a man pushes you away, and you fall down and scream. Mm-hmm. It's fucking just crazy. And so, yes, Kevin Samuels is harsh, but maybe if more women listen to him, they'd realize that you can't have it all, and they would stop talking shit about the truck driver. I don't want to date no fucking truck driver, and say, hey, that guy makes good money. He could take care of me when I'm older. Mm-hmm. We could put our two incomes together, our two retirements together. And instead of living in this apartment, praying that my kids are going to take care of me, I can live in a house and be okay and have something to give to my kids instead of having to take from my kids when I'm older. And that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm all out of bullets.
I think we could go on this forever and ever, and we will. We'll start a good topic. We will dissect it, even all the different topics and concepts that Kevin Samuels brings about, and especially the things and the ideas that we believe in. But for now, this is it. Yeah. And if you reach till the end of this video, thank you. Make sure you like, you subscribe, and you hit that bell for more notifications.
Jesus.
I was just like, Bill.
No more tequila for Scott.
More tequila for me. And what else do we got?
Well, like and subscribe on YouTube. We said that. Let's see. Let me check the iPad. Oh, yeah. Follow us on Instagram. I am Gorilla1 and
Scott.IEEE. And if you are into crypto, if you want to know more about financial education, the links is down below. You can check out my channel where I do crypto bi-weekly news on Monday and Friday. And I will start to do a series on crypto for beginners and blockchain for beginners.
Man, this channel was popping. So hold on a second. How do you want it? Because I also do MMA breakdowns, combat sports breakdowns. And, we'll do a little financial stuff here. So hold on. We give you that self-development.
Yep.
All right. We give you that blockchain technology, that crypto. We give you that combat sports, the most masculine shit in the world. This network's off the hook, man.
This is why we call it holistic development.
Holistic. All right. It's a tip network, baby. Booty in your face.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. That was a good episode. We went in, huh?
Yep.
That was an old school episode. That's a Rogan experience, dude.